control exactly what people think, and that is our job.
Yeah. Remember, it's illegal to possess these stolen documents. It's different for the media.
I was wondering who did that. Thanks.
Ain't nothing to it. A baby could do it.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy?
I'm a human being, god damn it! My life has value! It's time to ask yourself what you believe.
Mass murder, torture, perjury, embezzlement, fraud, deception, treason. These are just a few of your many crimes against humanity. You will not win this war, for you are fighting the very essence of humanity.
We make this judgment affirmatively. It will be an entire nation.
Hello, everybody. I'm here with Gina Bria from the Hydration Foundation and Kenny Liu, founder of Spring AQUA. And we're going to talk about the importance of hydration and clean water. And when I let you guys tell them what you guys do and how you guys start. Why don't you start, Kenny? Let's start with you first.
Actually, I prefer Gina go first. She got the best of stories, man.
I love it. I love it. Oh, I love
you're an anthropologist too, right? I forgot to. You're an anthropologist too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I thank you, Steve. Yes, I'm an anthropologist, and my work was looking at desert people around the globe. So every desert region around the globe, I went and looked like, how the heck are they hydrating without liquid? I mean, come on. They should be dead, right? It's 8 glasses a day. Everyone knows that. It is absolutely medical fact that it must be 8 glasses a day. And it was shocking to me to see that they didn't have that liquid and they weren't hydrating with 8 glasses of water a day. They were hydrating with plants that were storing specialized water. So plants transform the water that they receive from the earth and from the sky, and they hold it in their cells. And when, go ahead.
I had a question. Where did you go in particular?
Well, my field work was among the Mayan in Mexico, in the Yucatecan region. But the work that I did was archival work, looking for pre-industrial hydration strategies recorded in ethnographies. So I'm sorry to say all that. That was a lot to say.
I have no idea what that means, but I know you're going to break it down.
It meant that I was in the library with a lot of books that were falling apart and nobody had read since 1932. That's what it meant. And tracing, and then I spent a great deal of time looking at medieval traditions because they had very high contamination issues during that time. Of course, you'll remember the Black Plague was going throughout Europe. So documentation of decontaminating water to help recover was everywhere. Once you tap that, you realize all of these tea drinks, all these herbal drinks, these were even saying blessings over water were ways to use electromagnetic fields and plant information to heighten our capacity for receiving any kind of threat, our capacity to protect ourselves.
And doesn't that kind of tie into Masaru Emoto's work with the blessing and the energy in the water?
Absolutely. So I love him because Emoto was really the first person to point to the different states of water that could be photographed. So each of the crystals that he was taking a look at was literally, he was photographing conversations between the water molecule and the other molecules that are present in the ice. I mean, so every time, water is so sensitive that we are in conversation with it, is constantly shaping itself to receive whatever's coming in, good or bad, to shape it so that it works in our body and blesses us to our most heightened state. That's amazing. I mean, water is doing extraordinary work for us, and we need to kind of recast ourselves really rethink not just hydration, like how much am I getting in me, but oh my God, I am actually a water being. Every one of my cells is a small water pillow. It's like a little Ziploc bag full of water. That's what a cell is. And all my tissues are water, all my organs, my eye socket, my brain, you know, we're looking for it in liquid form. But if we shift and understand that it gets more and more dense and becomes tissue and becomes organs, then we begin to understand, oh, I am a walking water being. I'm actually like a jellyfish with bones in me. That's what allows me to walk on land. The bones do the walk on land water work, but we are still water beings.
And this is also based off of Gerald Pollack, right? The fourth estate.
So Jerry Pollack, bless his heart, is a beautiful man and a great scientist, and he documented this jelly-like state of water. So if you think of it as like in the material world, there's plasma states that we haven't even talked about in terms of water. And actually that's water's most prevalent form. So every kind of water inside of us isn't liquid, it's liquid in partnership with this jelly-like form. And that spectrum of water moving from liquid into tissue form, plasma form, and gel form. And he actually documented that form was present and we just weren't paying attention. We think water, liquid, maybe vapor, ice, but we are not aware that the vast majority of water on this planet is in this jelly-like form. That's what all our cells, all our tissues, every living thing, all plants are filled with.
Animals too, right? Like
animals, the works. We are a water-run system.
Does it look like aloe vera, kind of like that? Is it kind of like that? Like that
well, it's a phase, so it means that it can still look like liquid. So for example, Kenny's system with Spring AQUA, they do the transfer into this state, but it's only 10% more viscous than liquid. So you think you're drinking a liquid glass of water, but what you're drinking is the liquid crystal glass of water, which is a whole different thing. And the reason that's a whole different thing is because once the water shifts into this state, what's happening is the molecules are getting close enough again, like they were, you know, originally, to start sharing electrons. And once they start that electron sharing, they become very energized and they start giving energy to you, and they start connecting together to exchange information. And the state right before that in liquid, they don't do that. It's got the water molecules have to line up just enough to start sharing their electrons. And that's what is called the structured state, or the easy state, or the ordered state, or the coherent state. We have a lot of names for it now because different scientists are talking about it from different disciplines.
Oh
so,
God! And,
yeah.
wow,
but wait, I'll just complete one thought. Right. So so it can be only 10% more thick, or more concentrated, or more electrical than liquid, but the state can build, and it can become as dense as, for example, something like bone broth. So it's a real gel, like a Jell-O. It can become even denser and become a liver. Right? Oh, we're really starting to understand what the heck is going on. It can become so dense that it becomes cartilage. It's still water, but it's cartilage. And there's new thinking that even the bone structure, if you look at anatomy very carefully, you'll see it sure looks like cellular, like tree celluloids, that even bone is, and it is water. We're just not used to thinking about it that way.
Wow. So it like each phase, it just becomes more dense and more dense. And then each time it transforms, it becomes more like malleable and right. And
right.
Oh, that's
materialized.
Materialized.
It's through the water molecule that all things actually come into material reality. Yeah. Okay. I know.
I want to bring this book up. This I first started thinking before this Thomas Cowan's book, Cancer and the New Biology of Water. He talks about it a little bit in here.
Yes, Tom is a brilliant thinker, great colleague. He really has. And he was the one who really helped me understand that this water, so you have a cell here and a cell here, they both have water, they have dipole charge because there's now electricity going on, there's magnetic electric charge. It's the relationship of cell to cell, in other words, how that water's talking to itself and to other cells, that allows for the space to create structure. So it's the space in between that actually makes structure happen, not the actual materials. It's the space in between that gives now a shape to liver cells or a shape to an eye socket, or it's this relationship. Of course, it's way more complicated than that. But Tom was the one who alerted me, oh my God, it's the negative charge between the two cells of water, the two batteries of water that are actually allow us to have shape. And then that materializes.
Like the white, like when you're drawing, it's like the white space, right?
Right.
It's kind of
yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Oh my God.
And
so
Tom,
cool.
yeah. So Tom also was the person who helped me realize, oh my gosh, it's a relationship. I'd been talking about structured water. He helped me realize it's a relationship between structured water and liquid water, so that the amount of structured water that you have does this exclusion zone work, and it squeezes out the toxins and it makes new material. And then it sends the waste to the liquid water, which is more malleable, and that's our lymph system. And then it can drain out. So that this water in all its forms is in combination doing extraordinary systemic work. And yet all we ever say to anybody is, oh, you just need 8 glasses of water a day. Poisoned water, by the way, water that is just been trashed and is incoherent. The molecules are just all over the place. They're not in sync with each other and doing this beautiful synchronistic coherent delivery. So one of the big messages of the Hydration Foundation is we have to recover water in its structured state. We have to get back to getting that on the planet, into Mother Earth, into ourself, into our animals. Yeah. And drinking green juices is a huge part of that, because all the water inside the plant's already structured. So.
Wow. I mean, I have so much. So where do you think, well, first of all, just because I have this book right there, have you ever, I'm sure you probably read Batman Ledges, right? Your Body's Many Cries for Water.
Yes. In fact, we wrote a book to stand on his work, and we updated his work. And that book is called Quench. That's the work we did.
Okay. And I'm going to flash that on the screen.
Yeah.
Right?
To bring recipes into people's lives, first to help them understand how water works. But then the book has 50 recipes of very hydrating drinks and foods that you can bring into your life and get this plant liquid. And so I relish the opportunity to share those. And even on our website, we have recipes. Anybody can just start the process, no matter where you are. I especially have a huge concern for our elders, because my work started with my mom being dehydrated right at the same time I was doing desert research, and my mom was hospitalized for dehydration. So I'm like, wait, I'm holding the answer and my mom is suffering the consequences. And how could I?
It's a simple answer.
Yes, right? It's a simple answer. It's getting structured water inside of people. So there's multiple ways to do that. Thank you, nature.
Speaking of that, my mom was, she was dependent, and she doesn't mind me telling, so she gave me permission to say this out loud, but she was dependent on laxatives for, I mean, she's in her 70s. She said since her 20s, for almost 50 years.
Yeah.
And I got her on green smoothies, and it broke her of the dependence. So I did some others, like took some other foods out and stuff like that. But this was actually what like saved her from being dependent on these laxatives. And had she kept up her dependency,
right,
she probably was on a road to colon cancer.
Yes, of course, because you're solving the exit problem, but you're not solving the hydration problem. You're actually adding to it. So, you know, that's a very serious issue. And there are many, many people who, this was a whole thing, you know, in her 20s, this was the solution, is to get people dependent on laxatives instead of saying, wow, you're just dehydrated. How can we improve your hydration? And again, when we talk about improving your hydration, everybody goes to, well, you just need to drink more. And that is not the case, especially now, if you're drinking broken water, damaging water, you're drinking in more and more chemicals. And
fluoride and chlorine.
And, so bad. We're just going to stop that. We're just going to help people stop that. Stop that.
I just have one story kind of add to that too. So my friend was telling me about this lady that she met recently at a conference, and she was saying she had she was pregnant and she got vaccinated, had a reaction, and the baby lost like almost half of the amniotic fluid. And the doctors were like, you should abort the baby. You should just abort the baby, forgive up. And she didn't want to do it. And she did research, and you never guess what the solution was. You probably
please. No, I want to hear, please. This is so important. I'm so excited you're about to share.
She was able to say, drink more water. You just drank more water, and it restored her amniotic fluid.
Of course.
That's it. And they were trying to get her to abort the baby. They're like, there's no hope. It's done.
Right.
And
because they're using their mind locked into systems that work, you know, and they're not really, so the intelligence of the human body is beyond any computer that we could ever imagine. That's what we've learned about new water science, that the water molecules line up in such a way that they compute. That's amazing, you know. Go ahead.
It isn't, and I heard that that there are people looking into water as a way to store information, because it stores more information than silicon.
Yes, amen. Thank you for saying
I don't know
that.
how I feel about that though. You know what I mean? Like, where they're using water for computers, because I think I mean, they're great. We do a lot of great things, but I think that the tech stress.
I know, but here's the secret. It's a stealth. Water knows what it's doing. It's here to help us, and it is trying to help us. And if they start doing water computers, water's going to be like, I'm just going to include a little extra beautiful information as this system goes out. I'm going to share a little wisdom with you. And you know, we are underwater. We are not over water. We are under the wisdom and the archive of water, which is eternal. It goes back to time immemorial. I believe water has a future. I believe water is calling us now to some unique relationship with it, because we're so damaged and our planet is so damaged. And so I believe hydrating oneself is an incredibly important ecological act. And it's part of how we're going to recover ourselves. And then that information vibrates out of us to the people around us. It helps us think up new solutions and tap into ways to do things that need to be, you know, new. We need a new year.
Okay. Kenny, tell me a little bit. I'm gonna go back and forth and ask questions. I want to know more about Spring Aqua, how you developed it, how it works, and how we can use it.
Well, I'm still here. I love listening to both of you. I don't know how to follow this.
We just like chatting. We're like, whatever, Kenny.
This is kind of fun how what Gina has from us. We've learned so much just calling Gina every second, asking questions about hydration, learning more about what Jerry's work has been done, and also just a lot of how do I simplify structured water? How do I get it down that someone else, like my neighbor, can understand it? Because it's a lot of it's new information that people are not used to. Like, hey, 8 glasses of water a day, is that a real thing or that's a myth? I mean, there's so many of these interesting things that we have learned. And so, well, thank you first, Steve, for having us, but thanks, Gina, also for coming on and educating us and also spending a lot of time with these young kids here, right? So,
yes, love it. I love it.
Yeah. But my journey is pretty straightforward. I just did a lot of different types of businesses, particularly into health and wellness for many, many years, probably 15, 20 years. And then I was on a business trip to to Asia, translating for a US-based company. And our vision was to take supplements that were whole foods, right? So they're easier to absorb. And the idea was to try to find a way to legally bring it over to Asia, get into China. So, you know, I was just in Hong Kong, Singapore, I was in Taiwan, Southeast Asia, Thailand, and in China itself. And as we kind of meet people over time, we meet good people along the way, right? And one of the meetings I met in Taiwan, I was translating for the company. I met a gentleman called Mr. Shao. We just call him BBH, Big Brother Shao, easier to understand. Yeah. And he was the guy who said, hey, you're that kid that I want to talk to. You know, this is back in 2014. So you're the kid I want to work with. So when you come back to Taiwan, let's go hang out and let's talk about doing some business together, the two continents. So I went back to Seattle, from, and went back to Taiwan 2 weeks later, and he brought me to a McDonald's. And he goes, this is the American dream. We're sitting in it right now.
Oh, no.
But it's all good. I mean, I get the franchise. But that conversation was what led to clean air technology, renewable energy, water, you know, health for the veterans. He had some visions for orphanages, just also the things that he wanted to do. And he was in his mid-60s before he retires. So, and water was something that we brought up together. And my dad had to connect Professor Henry. So he knew Professor Henry pretty well, who's the guy who is a quantum physics guy. And he had the original idea of the water, like, you know, like how to make it naturally through, you know, through the ecosystem. And he came to me with a prototype and said, hey, I've got this something that has potential. And then I found out at that meeting at McDonald's, eventually went to his house, that Mr. Shao was the guy who developed the Rubik's Cube, that toy that everyone plays with.
Oh, what?
Right? He was the first guy that...
He was Taiwanese or Chinese?
He's Taiwanese, yeah. The Rubik's Cube was the inventor, was a guy from a Hungarian-Austrian guy. In the late 60s, he flew to, you know, Europe to meet the guy to get the development rights, the guy who had the original patent. Yeah. Mm. So he saw that project, and then that evolved into doing medical devices, the EKGs, ultrasounds, ventilators, infrared technology. So he's very familiar with the FDA, the whole process. And so I was the guy who brought his expertise in material science engineering and manufacturing and linked it with Professor Henry, the guy who had the original idea of the water, right? And we put it all together so we actually could have something that would actually work and function. Make sense? Yeah. So that's kind of how my role plays. And that happened back in 2014. Yeah. Just how I meet you guys is how I met them as well, through networking, through meetings, and just meeting good people along the way and doing things together. Right. But the way the whole thing worked was, you know, the scientists we were working with had spent, like Gina was saying, from anthropologists, you know, the Incas used to use ceramic vessels, well, they probably still do today, to transport the water around. The Egyptians did the same thing as well, and the Indians use copper vessels, right? And so many cultures use sunlight. Even I do know people up in the Himalayas, they'll take their water from the springs up in the mountain, they'll bring it home, and when the children get sick, they'll feed them that water and they would heal. So it's very interesting what good water does, right? Yeah. And so when we saw the project back in 2014, we're looking at different natural remedies. You know, there is any natural, like we know of reverse osmosis, we know of electrolysis with electricity, we know of filters, we know the tap water, we know the bottled water industry, all that was growing. So we were just trying to find what are the ways to bring nature back into water naturally, right? And so what we ended up doing was we ended up researching different springs around the world. So they looked at the Lourdes Springs in France. It's a very famous healing shrine for a lot of people. They looked at the Nordinal Springs in Germany. They looked at, there's other springs in Japan and Mexico they looked at as well. But the idea was to really understand the water composition, the ecology, all the different rock layers, kind of makes sense, to really understand how it was made. And the key was to find out if we can actually replicate that process, right? And the challenge was it's hard to replicate a mountain because, you know, our kitchens are very tiny. And when you get under the cabin, it's even smaller, right? Yeah. So you really have to understand the physics and really understand how to mimic all the different processes. Yeah. And that's kind of what we did. So we figured out how to, you know, mimic that rock layer process in 14 different filters. So what we're getting under the sink is 14 different filters that takes the tap water, runs it through these 14 filters, and it comes out the other side like spring-like water. Yeah.
Wow.
So we turn, like Gina would say, we turn the tap water into a spring, right? And so that's,
Awesome.
if you just visual it, a lot of people think, well, that's like an ecosystem in a box, or that is like a mountain of spring water under your sink, or a mountain in a box. So I guess the way to visualize, now I have spring water in my house. It's always producing what, you know, the spring-like water. And three things we found was pretty significant. The first thing is everyone's concerned about water being clean. So we had to make sure that the fluoride, the chlorine, the chemicals, the pesticides, all that's removed. So the water is clean, right down to the nanofiltration. Second thing is we figured is actually how to structure the water. And so I like how Gina talks about drinking crystalline water. Ooh, that feels good, you know, because like I got crystals in my water. It's coming to my body. Yeah, it feels really good. Yeah, so the idea is to structure the water so that like Gina was saying, water has its three phases that we're familiar with. The water as an ice cube, a solid, water as a liquid that we drink, and water as a gas like steam, right? Well, when we hung out and we learned how to explain structured water, like she said, it's just 10% more concentrated than liquid, right? And we learned by working with the Hydration Foundation, that's the liquid you find inside like an aloe vera you're talking about, or the blueberry or the strawberry, right? Or even the water inside the fascia under the skin, or the water up in the springs in the mountain. That's all structured water with just 10% more denser, right? So that's kind of what we did. As the water touches the different minerals, layers of rocks coming out the other side, it comes out in the coherent form and structured. And the uniqueness of that, which I love anthropologists for researching the history of desert cultures, because one wouldn't do that, but they did it, you know, was that how would they get their hydration? I mean, the aha moment was, there's not enough water to drink. You can't get to 8 glasses a day. But when she realized that they were getting water through the food that they were consuming, and that the water was locked inside the plants, and that water was structured. Well, it turns out that structured water is 2 to 3 times more hydrating. So you end up drinking a lot less water and feeling a lot more hydrated, right? So that was like, wow, that's massive, because now I'm thinking different. So now I know, just from my experiences from people who I know, the customers we know, and the athletes that we work with, we can tell the difference in how they perform. We can tell the difference how they recover. The MMA athletes can shed their water weight a lot faster, meet their weight requirements, and they drink a lot less water. So this is getting a lot more incredible. So we've got the clean water, we got the structured water, like the springs, right? And we also figured out that in the springs, there is also what I call the life promoting benefits. So definitely water has minerals, right? Minerals are important for hydration purposes. So the micronutrients, calcium, iron, copper, zinc, selenium, magnesium, and obviously there's many, many others. Our water has a natural alkalinity on the right handle because of the minerals. And the left handle is just the clean structured water with a regular kind of a pH, normal pH. And we also discovered that the springs, some of them had a decent amount of hydrogen gas concentrated in the water. So we also figured out how to make dissolved hydrogen gas. So now that left handle is the structured water, and the right handle on the faucet is going to give you the hydrogen water dissolved in the water. And it just turns out that hydrogen is a very potent antioxidant. You know, they're saying that we all have free radicals, especially today when we're sitting on sitting at home and not exercising and eating all the toxins. We're definitely have a lot more free radicals than the past, right? And free radicals harm your body when they steal electrons from your blood, cells, and organs. Well, we've also heard, and Gina and Christine probably know, you need to eat your antioxidant food. We talk a lot about make sure you eat a healthy diet, make sure you eat your broccolis, and make sure you eat your kales and cabbages and greens, and get your juicing in the morning to really help your body, right? Well, those are antioxidant food because they have they have the ability to donate their extra electron to the free radical in your body, so it doesn't steal from your body, right? Well, the hydrogen gas, I'm not sure if there's a terminology for it, but it's probably the greatest electron donator of them all, right? 1 liter of hydrogen gas with about 1.4 ppm per liter, you're looking at maybe eating 4 bags of spinach in antioxidant value. So,
and not only that, Kenny, not only the excuse me for interrupting. But
go ahead.
The electron. So the hydrogen is exponentially increasing the capacity of the water to conduct electricity to your system, to take down the antioxidants that are present. So this form of drinking water is a very effective way to really cleanse your system and refurbish it back to its capacity to heal itself and regrow itself. Then as an anthropologist, we're in extremis conditions. We don't live a natural life. We live an anti-natural life. We're indoors all the time, name it, at every point. We need a kind of assistance that we're not going to get just kind of rolling through our day normally at this point. And especially after the pandemic, because of the level of mental stress that we have. Walk through together. We're doing it together. So I really see water, and the kind of water you're talking about, Kenny, being an essential part of how to help us quickly recover and get on with making a new world together and having a lot more fun. So
I have a question real fast too. Is it like because the water is structured a certain way, when you because it's structured as opposed to like just regular water, the body has to work harder to integrate it into the cells because it's already in that state? Is that why you hydrate so much faster by drinking water in that state?
Kenny, I interrupted you, so I'm going to let you pick up.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm going to have Gina answer, because that's a good hydration foundation question, because it's really the hydration, you see. So I'm going to finish real quick. But no, I mean, Gina's absolutely. And by the way, what we've learned from the hydration foundation, just the idea of you need to think about Mother Earth, just there's a greater movement behind what we're doing. I love what I do in educating people about the science, the product, and do good customer service and provide a good way for people to have access to good water. But I'm also on the same page where if you read the Book Quench and there's 50 recipes and you like recipe 17 or recipe 45, people should do it. They should do whatever they can to add a pinch of salt to the water, add a cucumber, add lime or lemon, whatever it is. Chia seeds is another good one to structure that water, right? So they get on a better hydration path right away, so they can feel better. They can begin healing right away. So I'm all about, let's hydrate everybody, whatever way it works. We love them all anyways, right? Let's, what I learned too is when Gina talks about, think about the toxicity the plant is going through, the ecosystem being affected by the water, right? How the water is affected, how all the toxins affecting the water on the planet. When she came into our house and we talked as a team, she goes, think about the lives that not just you change, but think about restoring water on the planet. You can literally drink this water or have the system in the house, flush it down or water the plants with it. So you begin to recover land from your own home. You don't have to do too much. It's in your house already. So you can do it from your own living room, right? So think about hundreds of millions of people, doing this. What does this do? What does this do for the coherency of Mother Earth and the water and the recovery? So that moment was like, wow, I didn't, our vision just grew. There's a much greater force behind what we're doing, but we need to do it all one step at a time, right? And so I would say the foundation to health is going to be good hydration. The rocket fuel, the rocket booster is adding the hydrogen, so you can have both, right? And I'm going to hand it back to Gina to answer that question. Because I like to leave hydration questions to the expert.
Well, Kenny, I love our partnership. I love working with you as a person and as a company, because you are on mission of recovering water on this planet in our generation. Mm-hmm. And, you found a way to do that through your system. And the reason I love it is because it emulates literally water moving through the stratas of rock and picking up the information of each of those, that everything on this planet is sacred. Copper has something to say. Zinc has something to say. Green plants have information that they want to help us with. It's a living system. We're in Plants love you, rocks love you, they know you, it's personal, it's not anonymous. This is extraordinary. And really, and to get yourself hydrated is to get in the conversation, you know, to be helped by our foods, to be helped by our air, our trees, our soils, our rocks and minerals, and to understand that we are, we're not sterile, we're not apart, we're connected, getting it connected back up. And then water being the great connector, right? It's the great current, which connects everything and helps everything orchestrate correctly, like, you know, more copper over here, less saline over here. That water knows how to do that, but you know, we'll never discover that. It's too complicated, sophisticated, and it's too beautiful for science alone. So I love the work of your company and love supporting you guys and helping people know about your system. I really believe in it. And I also, you know, see, I mean, one of the beautiful things that working with Spring AQUA does is you don't have to drink as much water to be hydrated. That's already a new message in the world. When you couple that with food and the fibers, you make your smoothie with structured water instead of the smoothie having to work through everything from your tap water to get you the information you're going to drink in that smoothie. Bathing in water that is at this level of liquid crystallinity, it is like returning to amniotic fluid. And this is the water we need. We know what that feels like when we go to the ocean or a lake, and the buoyancy and we feel, you know, cared for and held. And that's what we're missing in our culture. We don't feel cared for or hugged by the things around us. You know, everything is a drain. So, and then again, water does get into the cell more quickly when it's electrically charged. So it isn't just the molecular alignment. Some people say it's just the molecular alignment, like can they get in there single file? I don't find that it's such an interesting argument. It's just a small pathway that Mother uses. The larger pathway is she draws water into her cells through electrical charge. That's really how, and Tom Cowan's work supports that. This is how water gets in. If water, because of the way we treat it, we chemically wash it, we pressurize it through pipes, doesn't have a lot of electrical charge in it, it is so hard to get it past into the inside of the cell. And that's why we can be drinking so much and still feel dehydrated, because the water isn't getting absorbed by our cells and our tissues. So knowing that water has to have electrical charge in order to actually you know, pass itself both as a moisturizing agent and now as a information conducting agent into the cell, so that then the cell can say, what's my job today? What am I doing? Who's making what? You know, when do I make it?
Yeah. So it's just less work. It all works like in harmony, I guess.
And harmony. So, Verston, what's interesting about harmony is it's not. It works better. We just think, oh yeah, that works better, but it works exponentially better. Like it launches us to a new level of being, of an experience, of perceiving, of our capacities. It isn't just like, oh, that's nice and harmonic. I feel comfort. It's like, no, I am vitally alive all of a sudden.
You're like, I'm an Avenger now. Right?
I can face the challenges that are here because they're interesting and I have solutions, and I'm excited about being present to you know, toss my hat in the ring and be part of this, whatever it is, whatever the day will be, versus I've got to think about how to make my contribution. It's so hard. It all becomes easy because there's flow. So very different.
I had a question about and one of you, I forgot who it was, mentioned it, something about the fascia and the hydration of the fascia, and then using motion to hydrate the fascia. How does that work? Could you explain, in either one of you, explain the role in the fascia?
Can I answer it, Kenny? Can I?
Definitely.
I got a question for you, Kenny, after. Okay, yeah, go for it, Gina.
Oh my God. So if you know that you are made of water, inside of you, and it's in this it's in all different forms. So it can be as thin as mucus or membranes, and it can be as thick as a cartilage or a bone. Then you begin to understand that you yourself are made of water, and that water needs motion to charge it. If water is stagnant, or you're sitting in your chair in front of your screen, there is less electrical charge going on in your body. But if you start to move it, then the cellular, just by virtue of squeezing, it's called mechanical electricity, that generates electricity. So movement is part of how water gets structured inside of you. Movement is how it changes liquid into stronger structure in your body. So you're literally building your own electricity when you move. And I really think, as such an immobile society, we have done ourselves a disastrous service by parking ourselves in cars, in long commutes, sitting at a desk all day, sitting in front of a screen. I'm at a standing desk right now because
I'm about my desk can stand too. I'm sitting down, but yeah. I have helps too. But
right.
You just alluded to the fact that like the screens can mess with our hydration levels.
Yeah. So of course the screen, this is an electromagnetic exchange we're having, right? It's a digital exchange. There's electromagnetic forces allowing us to see each other and to hear each other. That's great. But they also have interference patterns with the cohesion signaling that the body's trying to do. So here comes a signal in that is interfering with our ability to have that. The point of hydration is electrical conduction. So that's where it all lands in the end, is are we having coherent signaling sent by water?
So it's kind of like the same concept of like nuclear facilities, right? It's water, they're water powered. Right? Or the water powers the nuclear energy.
Right.
So the same thing, which it's not good for us.
Right.
But when we're drinking and hydrating, we're also powering our electrical
system, which is sending electrical signals, which is information transfer. That's what I really want to land for you, so that the water is helping conduct the electrical coherent signaling. When you're getting computer information coming into that signaling, it's making the radio station static. It's not as clear a signal. So the information water's trying to send to your liver, the liver's going, wait, can you repeat that? What did you say? Can you say it again? I didn't quite get that. That's what.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? And I don't think we would have had the science of coherent water signaling without first becoming a digital generation. And then we were like, oh, here's the analogy. I get how this works because I understand how my cell phone works. I understand how my screen works. So now I can understand, oh, that's how water works too. Oh, so I think
I constantly talk to my friends. We have this conversation about like how the technological world is basically just mimicking the natural world.
Yeah,
it's like
it can't do anything more because
it's like a bootleg version of the natural world.
Of course, because we're nature. We're never going to think bigger than nature. We're going to think new thoughts. And nature's like, oh yeah, I did that. And I did that in the year 2,403,000.
Yeah, like I did that before.
Glad you stepped into that.
Yeah, like even the camera that we're using right now to film this is based off of a concept of an eye. You know what I mean? Like,
I love that. It's fun to play with it too, because then again, what does that knowledge do for us? It creates buoyancy. We are cared for. We are covered. Nature's been there before us. It's ahead of us. It's behind us. It loves us. It wants to squeeze life out of us. It wants to produce life out of it. It's what it made us for. It's personal. You are alive because nature loves you and picked you, and you are blooming now. And so this is how we want to support each other.
I have one more question just for Kenny. I was just curious, how does Spring Aqua machines, just for somebody that's watching that's into water and stuff, compared to, because I know somebody that sells like Kangen water. So how do they compare to Kangen water and reverse osmosis machines?
I'll get back to, I want to add one little segment just to what you guys talked about electrical
go for it.
That is so important, because if you look at your body from a cellular standpoint, you're 70% by water mass, but 99% by water molecules, right? So think about all the molecules in the body, they've got to be coherently aligned. So I wear this little daughter shirt here today. It's a little bit blurry, but the idea was to show that they're coherently aligned somehow, so that when they're coherently, when you drink structured water or eat the right type of foods or go and exercise and transport the water in the body and get the water to structure, the cells coherently align so that when the brain sends electrical signals throughout the body, it's A to Z, it's quick and easy and very, very clear. But the opposite happens when they're not coherent, they're all dispersed, right? Then you have the lack of biocellular electrical communication. That's what's happening when you're not hydrated. And so Gina will tell you at just 2% dehydration, you can start to measure your cognitive memory losses. It's measurable. And at 10%, and that's subtle, like end of the day, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I feel tired, or I had too much coffee today, I've stayed in my office for a long time. You can get dehydrated very quickly. You don't even know it, right? And then at 10% dehydration, now that's the root, according to studies, that's the root of all chronic illness. You can trace it back to everything. So hydration and electrical function of the body is everything, right? So when we think about comparing this product to other products, I also, because you guys prefaced it with the whole, electrical function, I had to bring it up that way, is all the other waters that you're drinking, does it enhance that process or not, right? And is the water come structured? So I generally just tell people, the water's got to be able to conduct electricity or voltage, or has to have the electrical function. And there's nothing wrong with the reverse osmosis system. It's a great cleaning mechanism. It's well known. If you're living in a contaminated area, you should get it to clean out all toxins. But does it have the minerals to remineralize, to do what it needs for the body for hydration purposes, right? So instead of us talking about other technologies, I just say, look, wouldn't it be nice to know that you have an ecosystem in your house? Just visualize it this way. Where you have water coming in, it's natural. It doesn't use, Mother Nature doesn't electrocute the water, right? So it's more natural. Going through the natural minerals, all the different layers of rock, and just visualize that in your house, on your sink, is this natural mountain or spring water underneath your sink. And I just have a little visualize, that's what you're going to be getting. And I think that alone, you can begin to see, oh, well, that's definitely spring-like water. That's fresh. That's definitely very different than everything else is offered in the market. Now, we embrace them all because, like I said, there's a lot of companies that existed before us, which is totally great because that's how things evolve, right? You get a 40-inch TV this year, next year 80-inch comes out and pay the same price. You're like, what just happened? So the world's always improving, and we also embrace everyone because we have customers with a reverse osmosis system running through our system. We have customers with a whole house filtration system as well. They'll use our system. So it's a way of collaborating and making it work. But I think the main difference is, we're unique. We produce clean, structured hydrogen water, and also water that is in I guess, nature's form, like an ecosystem in a box, right? So they can visualize that. I think they can dig deep into our website. They can go on the website and schedule a call with me and say, what's up? And I'll chat with them, help them out. I'll be on the other side, be available to provide the education. But the key is for everyone to kind of find out what works best for them, right? And to really research and make a good decision on their own.
So you said you have whole house filtration systems too?
We don't have whole house filtrations. We have shower filters. We have people that take our water and, like Gina will say, bathe with it. Incredible results they get. Yeah, but we generally work on the point of exit. So right as they exit the tap, the faucet, whether it's drinking or whether it's shower, we generally focus on that. But lots of customers have an existing whole house system already, right?
How about
what
if
do they
I live
do?
in an apartment? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
Oh
off.
yeah, we have a lot of people who live in an apartment and rent house that get from us. It's easy to install, uninstall, and move around. Yeah, that's just something that we do case by case scenario. We have an installation team look at the design of the house, see where it's going to be located, and we just kind of come up with a strategy to make it work for everybody.
Kenny, one thing that you guys do that I think is really valuable is you also connect by zip code.
Yes.
So you alter the filters. So think of those filters as rock stratas, depending on where you live. And I think that's a really important consideration. And that's more mimicking nature. than other companies who just install whatever their system is. Because I think we do live in ecologies that we have to, water is talking to everything around you. And so I think that's an important distinction. I think that's an advance that you've done.
Yeah, we've had to learn as we grow all over the country, and the water in Durham or San Francisco, Seattle is quite different than Florida or Texas or LA or Southern California or Arizona or Vegas, and even water coming from the well, right? So we've learned that we've had to really understand water, and as the water source from different areas are different, and we had to tackle every zip code a little bit differently, and created a database of 6 or 7 different zones in America, right? Where we put a zip code and we'll know what zone you're in, so we'll know what type of filters to put together and what type of maintenance schedule to put together. And so that's something that we had to do very early on as we grew. We learned very quickly that, the filters in Seattle don't really work in California.
Because the water, the harshness of the water is different, right?
The LA water is pretty rough.
Yeah. Yes, I was about to say, I was born and raised in LA, and then I remember when I moved to San Francisco, the water wasn't as harsh, and I can tell by how my hair texture felt. I washed it. I mean, maybe it sounds vain, but I'm like, wait a minute.
Me too. Absolutely. Me too. Yeah.
And then
we've had to learn. Yeah.
My dad's the hard way,
but it's all good. No, we've learned this, and also we also want to make sure that you're not living next to a chemical factory or chemical plant, right? Because that water is different too, right? Well, we need to know. So some areas in Virginia, you're right by the chemical factory. Up in Michigan, where the manufacturing for the cars are, all those different areas have different qualities and types of water. Sometimes we have to fly out to get the samples, or we know someone who's a dealer there, or a customer will send. There's all these different strategies, and we have a constantly evolving database. So it's a work in progress, but it's much needed if you want to do it right, and to give people the right stuff they need, right? And we're always open for constructive help. People always love to give us help a hand. We'll listen, get the data process together, because it's not just something for me to keep. It's really for the world to have, right? And as Gina talks about saving, recovery, water recovery, that's important. But that's part of the mission. Getting hydrated to the Book Quench is another part of the mission. So whatever we can to help people be better hydrated today is kind of the vision that we need to do, right?
Yeah, I mean your company is very well thought out. Like that's amazing. Now that you bring it up, it makes sense. But I'm just like, the water's different places. Like I was about to say, my dad is from Colorado, and I remember going. Like my dad's side, I would go to Colorado and I can drink water out of the tap, but it tastes fantastic compared to LA. I don't know how it is now, years ago, but I just remember, I always hated LA water. I hated it. I've been requesting bottled water ever since I can talk, because I just always thought the tap water was so gross there, So just wrapping up one more time, or one more thing, I guess, for you guys, or any of you guys can answer this. So I'm having a challenge, as I told you, next week, called More Laughter, Less Sugar, More Water, Less News. And I originally planned to tell people for the water part to drink, not 8 ounces a day, but half their body weight in water, in ounces. But now, since I've done this interview, I think I'm going to do something a little different. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I should say that they drink green smoothies, or either direct them to your website, Gina, for some recipes in order that they hydrate properly.
I have to tell you, I really do believe that if we help people get more water, that's important, but we also have to help them absorb that water and transfer it into the state. So I would add to your challenge simply a green smoothie, or a green, the reason I prefer smoothies for this particular context is because the fibers in the plant, thank you, Mother Nature, she planned to drip irrigate you through the fibers in the plants. They come in, they hold the water, and they gently release it into your tissues. And that's why water from food is such an important part of the plan, including clean water, including bathing in clean water, including recovering our soils. But all of this for your particular challenge, a smoothie. And it can be something as simple as let's say coconut milk, blackberries, and basil. That's it. That's your.
How about coconut water?
Coconut water is good. It is. I think coconut water. I don't really like the taste of coconut water. I find that a lot of times it's kind of gone bad because if you get it fresh, that's fabulous. Coconut milk is a way that nature uses fats to preserve, which is so smart. Thank you, nature.
You're welcome.
So, or just something like the kind of a lettuce that. What's the kind of lettuce that I can't believe I'm blanking on the name. It's
Maine iceberg.
Yeah, not those, but the smaller leafed ones that they have a lot of nitric acid. Arugula is it's called rocket in Italian. That's the name of in Italian.
Is it a little bit
arugula.
Spicy?
It's spicy and hot. That's another cue that it's carrying information that you wouldn't get otherwise. So an arugula pear smoothie is with maybe some blackberries on it or blueberries. You can use frozen, it's fine. These combinations of foods come together as Mother Nature intended to deliver both nutrition and hydration at the same time, so that the hydration molecule, the water molecule, could disassemble and make bioavailable all the nutrients in that lettuces and those fruits and gingers and all of those things. They are tremendously important to come in with the hydration chain. So, that's why I can say with complete confidence that an apple is more hydrating than a bottle of water, because that apple is first structured water, full of minerals, full of nutrients, and its fibers will drip release that hydration into you. So I think Green Smoothie Challenge is a way to go to hydration.
I'm just worried. I think I'll figure something out, because not everybody has a decent blender though, because I have a Vitamix.
Right. Yeah.
And it makes the best smoothie. But when I had a cheap blender, it didn't blend this well,
Right.
So, but I use what is in here? It's apple, kale, lemon, squeezed lemon, ginger, celery, and cucumber.
Oh, that's brilliant. So if people don't have a blender, let's switch to puddings. And if you do a chia pudding, a coconut milk, a can of coconut milk, 5 tablespoons of chia seed, dress it with some beautiful bananas or fruit. Oh my God. Chia is one of the most hydrating things on the planet. You don't need a blender.
And I heard you say somebody too, like pomegranate juice with chia seeds.
Oh my God. Yeah. You don't need a blender. You do not need a blender. What you need to do is understand the principles. So, yeah. I love that you're sharing this information. This is
me too. This is great. Okay, you guys want to say anything else to wrap up, or you have anything else?
I'd like to join your challenge. Can you I want to be part of this. So let me know how to do that.
It's 18 and above, because the laughter part,
I'm above the 18. Yes.
I don't know.
She turned 29, so we're in good shape. Yeah.
Some of the comedy clips have a bit of cursing in it. I got different types of comedy. They're not all stand up. They're goofy. They're slapstick. I'm trying to, make it. So I'm just letting you know. I don't know. So yes,
I love that.
Join it. Yes.
Yeah. I think that humor is a vibration, right?
It is.
It is literally when you giggle, you're vibrating. That vibration turns on electrical charge in our system. So comedy is hydrating. How do you like that?
It is. Yeah. Well, I read years ago about this man that had cancer, and he was not given a long time to live, like within a few months. And he just rented a bunch of comedy movies and stuff and just laughed, and he cured his cancer.
And that makes
depending on why
sense.
you get cancer, but I'm just saying, maybe if he had a lot of anger and sadness, that vibration that helped him through that, and it does change your and I'm okay. I just got fired recently, but I went home and watched a bunch of comedy after. You know what I mean? And I was over that job anyway, but I'm just saying, that was automatically, if something bad happens, I will go put on either some music or some stand-up comedy, so I don't downward spiral and bring more bad energy.
Christine, I want to stay close to you. You are an amazing woman. I really, really like what I'm seeing. So love to join your challenge, and let's be, partners in the water recovery movement. I love it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, Gina and Ken, what do you want to? I know we've been talking long, but tell me where we can find you. Anything else you want to promote before we wrap this interview up?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to follow the ladies. You guys are so fun. There's so much great energy going on, so much humor, so much love, you know.
It's your fault,
but-
Kenny. You're the one that I was going to interview Kenny, and Kenny's like, "Oh, I want to bring my friend Gina," and they were just like, "Whatever."
Love it. Whatever.
Thank you, Kenny.
Gina is fun. No, she's definitely. No, I'm on board for the challenge as well. So put me in there as well. It'll be a lot of fun for the, you know, more laughter is always better. You know, I do like laughing. I do like watching comedy. I don't like scary movies at all. I love watching things that make me laugh. And sometimes my wife goes, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm listening to this comedy show from this person." "Man, you always listen to comedy. That is funny stuff, you know." So the funny stuff, and so they make you laugh. So, you know, pick up good lines from it. But no, I really appreciate the work both of you are doing. I think it's important that everyone gets the chance and, you know, to learn more about hydration, right? Learn about ways to take care of their bodies a little bit better, some simple remedies, you know. And if they want to get to our website, first thing I'll give you, if you can post it somewhere, you know,
I will.
They can just get there. And then if you guys ever want to talk to me on the phone, just go online and
say your website. I'll also put like a tag on the bottom. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you a link. Like it'll be like I don't have it yet, but it'll be, you can just go to springaqua.com as well. That works just as well, right? Okay. But you can just they can schedule time, chat with me at time when you click on the link. If you want to get a quote, I mean, all that stuff is really we're more about the heart, about educating people, about making sure they understand what's going on. I'm always available to chat. Available to come back on, hang out some more down the road, you know. So, but I do think it's important that hydration is important. Like there's literally 3 forms of hydration, you know. Start with the challenge of making sure you eat the right types of food and smoothies and everything. That's important. Start with the next challenge is making sure you take some time to exercise to help move the water out of the body. And the third is, you know, sometime in your future, find the right type of water to drink. That's all part of the process, right? And I think if we do that, then we not just help ourselves, but we also have the mission to help Mother Earth. I think that's also part of the project. Yeah, part of the vision as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because where are we gonna live if everything's messed up? We're not gonna have a home.
Yeah, I have kids.
Right?
I have kids, and they need a future. So I think a little different. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, and Gina, where can we find you?
Hydrationfoundation.org. It rhymes. You can't forget Hydration Foundation. And then we're a nonprofit. So
and your book is named?
It's called Quench. And I wrote that with Dr. Dana Cohen. She's an functional MD. So she shows how dehydration is the root cause of all disintegration in our bodies.
And I just want to say this too. I'm very critical of allopathic doctors, but when on a lot of stuff that I talk about, but I wanted to say Dana is really cool, and I really appreciate allopathic doctors that are willing to think outside the box, because it's now just come to a lot of allopathic doctors. All they do is just write prescriptions, and they're not getting to the root cause. So kudos to her. So when I'm talking crap about those allopathic doctors, I'm not talking about Dana. She's cool. Let her know that.
I will. She will love hearing that. And we are in, I do want to say how strongly we are in a transition right now. And amazingly good things are happening. The news is telling you that we're turbulent and we're going out of control, but actually we're turbulating into the new, health, love, appreciation of nature. We're just getting closer. So,
yes. That's why we're going to stop watching the news next week with the challenge too. So.
I'm going with you. Thank you.
All right. All right, guys. And thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And we will see you later. Peace, you guys. Bye-bye.
See you on the